Kennedy Junction, 14 back out to Lake Cook. Inbound Kennedy is slow Cumberland to Harlem, then Sayre to Nagle, once more from Ohio into downtown. Inbound from O'Hare, it's a 25-minute trip, 11 in from Montrose in the locals, or 6 in the express lanes. That's traffic. I'm Al Verdi on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast. In our AM 560 Weather Center, our AccuWeather meteorologist, Steve Williams.
Partly sunny, breezy day, high today 45. Partly cloudy, cold tonight with a low 24. Partly to mostly sunny, chilly day tomorrow, the high 40. And then a mostly sunny day on Friday, the high Friday at 52. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
34 officially at O'Hare. Next news at 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
From the Matrix Home Solutions Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560, The Answer, online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, on TuneIn, iHeart, and radio.com. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy J this morning, former state rep and current host of Black and Right. Saturdays, 1 p.m. on these airwaves. John Anthony.
Hey, thanks, Dan.
John, you had much experience in the K-12 realm, the combination of being the father of 42 children.
Yes, that's right.
You guys live in a shoe, I understand.
We do.
You have 6 kids?
6.
And also being a state legislator, obviously education is a big state legislative issue, too. And so these local elections, again, we continue to repeat to try to beat the drum. Tuesday, local elections, school board, municipal, township. These are important elections, and we always talk about focused on where you can have influence, where you can exercise some control over your life, and that's your neighborhood, your community, and by extension, those institutions that are foundational to your neighborhood and your community, like school boards. So we've been profiling a bunch of local races. We're continuing to do so right up and through next Tuesday, April 6th. Today, it's District 211 in the Northwest Burbs. This is High School District, Conant, Fremd, Hoffman Estates, Palatine, Schaumburg. We've got 3 candidates. We'll take them right in a row who are running for District 211 board. Remember, District 211 got on the map early in the whole trans identitarian ideological battle with a student that sued the school district because they wanted access to a bathroom that was not consistent with their biological sex, and that was fought by a group of District 211 parents against a Vichy identitarian, a Vichy sort of center-right, but turned out to be identitarian board, and of course superintendent, these overpaid superintendents. This should be the predicate question for every person running for school board. What are you going to do to clip the wings of these mainly officious, overpaid superintendents? Right there along with the teachers' unions. So let's get to it. Our first candidate up, District 211 School Board, is Kristin Steele. And by the way, all 3 candidates that we're talking to today are women. If there were not for, sensible women engaging in the fight for Western civilization, the fight would already be over. I mean, I don't know where conservative men are in this country, but honestly, the candidates we talk to, the leadership, the work that's being done from what I see from my vantage point, it's overwhelmingly women.
I agree.
But I digress. Kristin Steele, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day to you all. First, I just want to say I am Steele with no E on the end. So just like the metal, strong like steel. So,
okay.
Yes, I am a mom first and foremost, like you mentioned. I have 3 kids in the district, not 6, not 42. I have three kids. They range in age from 2nd grade all the way through high school. My high school is at Hoffman Estates High School. So I have a long time in the district. I have a lot of skin in the game. And I started, I guess, you kind of already mentioned it, this battle back in July with, things weren't looking as they should be looking for getting our kids back in school. And you also mentioned about our superintendents and what's going on there. In July, that oversight that the school board is supposed to have on the superintendent and the representation to the community, the taxpayers and the students, that was put all in the superintendent's hands. She has full decision-making capability and authority on everything as it relates to going back to school. So, what she says, what goes.
So an abdication of fiduciary responsibility by the school board, like we saw an abdication of fiduciary responsibility by the General Assembly to the governor. I'm glad to see the consistent thread there. So the basis on the basis on which you're running is for what? Is it specific to the performance during COVID, or is it something larger?
So it is under COVID. I have to say I would be running for school board had we not been in this awful position that we've all been in for the past year. I started getting involved just prior to the shutdown. What's going on in our district. Things weren't. I was seeing academic inequities. Simple things like test prep time, and what's going on at this school isn't necessarily what's going on at that school. And it was just time to get involved. And then we had our pandemic and slowly started, we thought, trying to reopen through the summer, and not going back to school full time. That just couldn't be in the cards. So I held a rally at Hoffman Estates High School, got parents involved, started a Facebook page, returned to in-person learning. And it was clear at that time that the people that I was meeting in the community, that they were looking for change in our school board. And how was that going to happen? And it had to come from, a parent, in my opinion, that is on the ground in the trenches, working hard and being a part of the community and connecting with the parents. And so that is first and foremost, getting our kids back in school full time. We're still not there yet. Do the kids go to school every day if they have the opportunity? Yes. Are they there full time? No, we're still approximately 160 minutes short a week of school.
Hey, Kristin, one of the things that I've always hated during my time in the General Assembly is the unfunded mandates that are just thrown onto school districts. What do you guys plan on? Are you guys willing to, if an unfunded mandate comes down from Springfield and you can't implement it, are you guys willing to buck the system and say to Springfield, we're not implementing this unfunded mandate?
Yeah, well, I can only speak for myself, and I hope that I am a part of a sitting board that will act in the best interest of the needs of the kids in our district. I am fully willing to do that. It's not one size fits all where something is jammed down every district in the state's throat where we must abide. It is, it does come down locally, and we have to look at the details of how that impacts our district and our students.
She is Kristin Steele, candidate for District 211, School Board District 211, Kristin Steele. She's on the ballot on Tuesday. Kristin, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And you can find us all. We're all running separately. #Moms for 211.
Moms for 211. Okay, very good. Thanks, Kristin. Let's move to our next candidate. She is Jessica Hinkle. Again, District 211, #Moms for 211. Jessica, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for having me.
Hey. Good morning. So your impetus to run for District 211 School Board, what's the big issue? The one thing you're going to do if you're elected or fight for?
Sure. Yeah, I think I can agree a lot with what Kristin said. Back a couple of years ago, I started getting more interested in our local elections, realizing that my property taxes were going up and continuously going up and up and up. And really diving into what's going into our property taxes, and then realizing that over 70% of our property taxes go to the schools, and that's how I first got involved with why I started getting interested in the school board. And as I started attending some of the meetings, I started recognizing that our school board, we are debt free, but we have a surplus of money that it just doesn't make sense why we're maintaining it and why we're badgering and beating up our our community with overburdening them with our taxes. And so that was the first thing that really kind of pushed me to the idea of running for the board. And then, of course, COVID hit, and I have a high school freshman at Schaumburg High School, and I noticed his academic career starting to tank by laying in his bed while he's doing gym class and whatnot, and just being able to, I guess the benefit of COVID is actually being able to listen in on his classes and hear what the classroom, what takes place in the classroom. And it was a little bit eye-opening, and I realized at that point that we need to do a little bit more. We need more parent voices and more student voices on our board, and so that's actually the straw that broke the camel's back to get me to run. So,
yeah. So what future system or infrastructure would you be willing to put in place? Because I noticed that when the governor basically shut all schools down, he kept saying these are the CDC guidelines. Well, guidelines is not a mandate. It's a guideline is just simply saying, hey, you can follow this if you want, but you don't really have to. And I think throughout the entire school system of Illinois and throughout America, nobody really had anything in place. So what's the system in place so that the governor can't just nilly-willy come in and just shut everybody down? What are your plans for that?
Right. Well, I think specifically in our district, I think we did our community a disservice by putting all the powers into our superintendent's hands. Again, kind of like how you said it earlier, it doesn't make sense for one person to be the sole decision maker for an entire community. And I think by doing so, we really took away the powers of our community and the voices of our community. And what we did by doing that is allowed one person's thoughts and feelings dictate what's going to happen to our students. So first off, if I get on the board, I'm going to push so that we take that sole power away from our superintendent, and it comes back to the board, and we can have a discussion amongst a group of people that are advocating for our students and for our teachers and for our parents. And that would be my first step, is to get back to this group discussion rather than having a dictatorship. So,
What about the curriculum? You said on the Zoom classes, some of the things you heard were eye and ear opening. What's the problem there?
Yeah, I was just kind of shocked that, maybe it was just due to COVID, but the classroom seemed very lackadaisical. And again, it could have been due to COVID. Maybe teachers weren't ready for, being on, doing a Zoom class rather than an in-person class. But it seems very slow paced. And I would honestly say that my freshman, at the end of this year, I don't think that he's going to be, I don't consider him a sophomore. I consider him a freshman 0.5. I don't think that he's gotten the education that he should have gotten. And again, it could have been due to COVID, but some of the topics that were discussed were very broad, or it didn't go into the detail that I recall when I was in 211, the details that those classes went into. So I feel that we might be pushing, might be straying away from the core needs of our students and getting them ready for the real world, and focusing on life skills rather than political thinking. So,
Jessica Hinkle, she is also a candidate for District 211 School Board. She's on the ballot on Tuesday. Hashtag Moms for 211 applies to you too, Jessica?
It sure does, and you can also check out my website at jesshinkle.com. It's JES with one S, hinkle.com.
JES1S, hinkle.com. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. Let's move on to our final candidate that we're talking to this morning, District 211 School Board candidate, Robbie Volckemer. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Robbie, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you, and yes, you are pronouncing it perfectly.
All right, wonderful. So the basis on which you're running for school board, and what about the politics, both going on internally in the school system and as well as any politics that's attendant to this campaign, this candidacy, your candidacy, and those of your running mates this cycle?
The politics, this whole election process has been very eye-opening to me. I am astounded by the level of corruption at this level for a volunteer school board position. There are a lot of candidates that are treating this nonpartisan election as a partisan election, and it's very concerning to me, getting political endorsements by political parties, besides the amount of tens of thousands of dollars that they're getting funded to them. And then also they're getting the teachers union involved by getting endorsements through them and getting their signs paid for as well. And I believe it's a conflict of interest, and I'm just astounded at the level of corruption at this level. And I can't even imagine the level of corruption that goes on at the state or national level.
Yeah, it's similar. I mean, but it's interesting you point that out. Of course, it's a conflict of interest. They're on both sides of the deal, right? They're backing the people that are going to negotiate their contracts, and vote on their contracts. Obviously, a conflict of interest, but it tells you whose interests are really being served, right? Who's politicizing it and who's funneling the money in? School vendors and the teachers union. Yep. That's who the schools are set up to serve. The people that are paying or supporting the candidates, the people who get paid, the adults, the businesses, the vendors, and the teachers union, the teachers by extension. That's what this whole thing is about. And until you have a school board that demands that the schools be child-centered and outcome-focused, that will continue to be the case. And you'll have a school district like Jessica was just telling us that doesn't really resemble what it was like when she went to school there, does it?
Correct. I'm actually a Hoffman Estates High School graduate of 211, and this is not the same playing field or the way schools were back in the day that I recall. And there's also a dangerous trend of steering away from academics, and it's a dangerous pathway that we're on.
Dangerous.
Well, steering away from academics in school, that's seems to be counterintuitive, but I guess I'm old school too in that way. I thought that was the point, but I must not be up to speed.
It's not the point today, and I spoke of this last year at a board meeting and cited several examples of where I showed how the schools have not been paying attention and steering away from academics. And I always thought it was the sole purpose and should be the priority of all schools is academics and education and the students. But it doesn't appear to be. Schaumburg High School alone neglected to update their academic scholar wall for 7 years.
Wow.
Hoffman Estates High School doesn't even have an academic scholar wall.
Well,
don't want to make people feel bad. Yeah.
Here's my question. One thing I'm learning about a lot of local government, because I've really been paying attention to a lot of local government, is this tax levy. Now, for the past 5 years, District 211 has had a surplus, right? Now,
correct.
The reason being is because they've maxed their tax. They've taken the tax levy to the maximum. What is the moms for District 211 plan to tackle reducing that, and will that go back to the taxpayers?
Well, I think the moms of these three moms here, Jessica, Kristin, and myself, are wanting to think outside the box and see what would be the best for the community and the taxpayer and be fiscally responsible. Right now, 211 is operating with over a $30 million surplus, and they just recently had a $17 million land sale. So I think we need to think outside the box and see if there's other possibilities like an abatement or a refund to the taxpayers that needs to be explored and looked at. And I can't make those final decisions at this stage of the game, but I know these three moms are definitely willing to consider anything and do their research and homework.
All right, if you guys abate property taxes in a high school district with 12,000 kids, I'm going to put you three on my wall of scholars. How does that sound? Because that would be foundation. That would be a watershed moment in the history of K through 12 education in Illinois. So, Godspeed on that. Again, hashtag Moms for 211. She is Robbie Volckemer, Kristin Steele, Jessica Hinkle. Robbie, any additional information you want to share for more information about your candidacy?
You can find me on Facebook.
Okay.
That's primarily the social media site I use. Just Robbie Volckemer, D211 Board of Education. And I just want to say, to me, a union endorsement is like the fox guarding the chicken coop.
Absolutely. That's exactly what it is.
Speaking your language, Dan.
Robbie, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate all three moms for 211 who joined us. They're on the ballot on Tuesday. Schaumburg, Palatine, Hoffman Estates. Wake up! And they joined us on the turnkey.pro answer line.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper, hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
What do you get when you talk to a Dell Technologies advisor? You get someone who understands there's an art to listening.
Sure.
Who's able to hear more than what's being said and can provide tailored small business solutions that make you feel truly heard.
I understand. Let's get started.
For advice on everything from laptops to the cloud and solutions powered by Intel vPro platform, call an advisor today at 877-ASK-DELL.
What happens when health insurance goes further?